Thank you for being here, and thank you to my fellow panel members, District Attorney Jennifer Schorn. I know Senator Farry couldn't be here last minute, but we have his Chief of Staff, Ryan. Skoczylas is here. Ryan, thank you for being here. State Representative Kristin Marcell to my left. State Representative Thomason also at the last minute got called away. But we have also State Representative Joe Hogan is with us. The Northampton Township Supervisor Selisker is here, and Northampton Police Chief Steve LeCompte is here. Thank you all for joining us, and welcome to our expert witnesses. Mary Worthington from Nova is here. Mary. We have Graeme Page, co-founder of Skill and a board member of Safe Surfing Foundation, joining us remotely from California. So it is 7 a.m. for Graeme, so I appreciate him coming here. And also we have here remotely West Virginia Senator Vince Dean also joining us. Thank you to school administrators, community leaders, concerned parents, members of the public who are here today. Your presence underscores the importance of what we are here for and why we have convened. It's appropriate to note that April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we are gathered to address critical issues facing every community, including our own here in Bucks County. Our safety of our children in this digital world is number one. Our kids live online. They learn, they socialize, and play in a digital space powered by smartphones in their pockets. But this constant connectivity comes with significant risks. Consider this. Studies show teenage girls are spending over 5 hours a day on social media, and boys over 4 hours a day. The average child gets their first social media account at the age of 13. And startlingly, nearly 1 in 5 kids between 8 and 12 already use social media every day. This intense immersion isn't always benign. The platforms aren't frequent. TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube expose them to potential harms. And tragically, over half the teenagers themselves report that social media use can make them feel sad, depressed, lonely, or feel their own life is worse than others. This exposure to harm contents the risk of encountering predators. The pressures of cyberbullying and the documented impact on mental well-being demand our urgent attention. This isn't an abstract problem happening elsewhere. It's happening right here, impacting Bucks County families and schools every single day. While parents do their best and schools implement controls, the sheer volume of exposure and sophistication in the online world often overwhelms existing safeguards. We as community-led leaders and protectors have a responsibility to do more. That's why we are holding this hearing today. Our purpose is twofold. First, to demonstrate the urgent need of comprehensive state legislation in Pennsylvania, bolster digital literacy, education, and shield our children from online harm. We look to states like West Virginia, where Senator Deeds has helped champion the passage of Senate Bill 466 with near unanimous support as a model for what is possible when we prioritize children's safety. Second, we are here today to announce a proactive step right here in Bucks County. I am happy to share that the Bucks County Sheriff's Office, along with the District Attorney's Office, state legislation, and others will be working closely with an area school district to launch a pilot program, hopefully in the fall, to address these challenges, utilize some of the very tools we're here to talk about today. The first of its kind, the pilot here in Bucks County, will explore and implement enhanced safety measures in digital education, learning firsthand what works best for our students and educators. I am eager to share more details in the coming weeks as we formally announce this partnership. But today, however, we will hear compelling testimony about the scope of the problem, the impact on victims, the technological landscape, and the legislative path forward. We will ask tough questions and seek practical solutions. The hearing is a crucial step in this dedicated campaign to give our schools and parents the tools they need. So how did the Sheriff's Office get involved? I was in January of 2025, I was in Washington, D.C. at a meeting, and I heard a gentleman you're going to hear in a few minutes, Graeme, speak about a software that he has developed that will help deal with child exploitation online. It's amazing software. I came back and shared it with these folks here, and that's why we're here today. Our children are counting on us to adapt and act. Let's begin the important work today. And now let's stop hearing from me and let's hear from some witnesses after District Attorney, would you like to make a couple of comments right now?
I'm happy to. Thank you, Sheriff. As District Attorney and the prosecutor in this county for 25 years, I can honestly say it's a crisis right now. The danger to our children, the sextortioners exploit our children, and what we see often is, and I know the experts are they're gonna highlight the problem in great detail, but we see two different categories. We see individuals who sexually prey upon our children online for their own sexual gratification, and that is certainly a serious concern and problem, and we've seen as a result of those crimes, often the online exploitation leads to hands-on offenses. The children are most vulnerable. But we see the second category, and of equal concern is the second category of sextortioners who are targeting primarily adolescent-age children, but teens, young adults as well. And this is truly a criminal organized enterprise where they're targeting those victims so they can exploit them for their financial gain. It is so organized and it's so concentrated, the exploitation, and it's so swift, the victimization, that we're seeing catastrophic outcomes. We're seeing children take their own lives because they don't see a way out. And so when Sheriff Harran brought this program...
Sheriff, is it true that you're going to implement 287G and start rounding up immigrants out of our communities?
Excuse me, if I could kindly just...
Is it true? Because if you come to my community and start rounding up immigrants, you are going to have a real problem.
In Bucks County, we care
In
about
Bucks
all
County,
children.
if you come into my community, you are going to have a problem. Because I'm the unofficial sheriff in my town. And if you're going to have a problem with me. Don't you dare come into my community and start rounding up immigrants. I can tell you that right now. We are not going to deal with a Hitler. We have an orange Cheeto Hitler in power right now. We had 455,000 soldiers die to keep you Nazi pigs off our shores. And we will do whatever we have to do to keep you out of our communities. Yeah, keep on smirking. We are sick of it. We are not going to have you infiltrate our communities. You better stay the hell out and stop using our tax dollars.
So we're here about our children's safety.
I don't care. Yes.
As I
let me guess. We're gonna have sex change.
Can we get her removed?
I am so sick of this. I am so sick of you Nazi pigs. Stay out of our communities. You implement 287G and you're going to have a problem.
So as mentioned, this organized criminal enterprise is targeting our teens, our adolescent age children, and I think many of us have seen the results. Shockingly, a little over 2 years ago, a young man took his own life in just our neighboring county, in Montgomery County, because he was the victim of a sexual exploitation. And the scary part is that the crime unfolded within 24 hours. And at that point, he was so desperate and didn't have anywhere to turn to, so he felt the only answer was to take his own life. When I heard of this and what Sheriff Harran brought to Bucks County, and when you hear from Graeme, it's literally, it is the answer we need to provide a mechanism for our victims. So I look forward to hearing from the testimony from the experts that are here today. Again, the focus today is protecting every child in our community and in neighboring communities. Their lives are worth all of our resources being focused on their protection. So thank you for the time to speak.
Thank you very much. First, we're going to hear from Mary Worthington, Director of Prevention for the Network of Victims Assistance.
Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting Nova to be part of this hearing. My name is Mary Worthington, the Director of Prevention, Education, and Training for NOVA. NOVA supports and counsels and empowers survivors of sexual assault and serious crime. And for 51 years now, NOVA has been and remains to be the trusted, comprehensive victim service agency here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. Before I begin, I would like to offer a brief overview of some of the services that NOVA provides for victims and their families. We provide victim advocacy, guiding survivors through the criminal justice system. Our advocates collaborate with law enforcement, the district attorney's office, and state and local governments. Our team of counselors use a wide range of trauma-informed methodologies to promote healing, not only for our survivors, but for their loved ones. And when child abuse is suspected, our Children's Advocacy Center provides a safe, child-friendly environment for children to tell their story to one of our trained forensic interviewers. We offer a wide range of violence prevention topics, supporting pro-social behaviors for students, professionals, and our community members. Core to our mission, our personal safety program helps students set safe boundaries, recognize their right to say no, navigate potentially dangerous situations, trust their instincts, and inform trusted adults. Developing critical thinking skills and strategies for safe interpersonal boundaries, ways to seek help, and resources for support provides a strong foundation for forming and maintaining healthy relationships, both in person and online. NOVA understands the critical role prevention plays in managing public health and social issues, including why we are here today, protecting the youth's exposure to harmful and explicit online content, activities, and solicitations. Today's technology has a central role as a communication tool for our youth, enabling them to engage with people worldwide, maintain constant contact with friends, and nurture relationships. But in contrast, many of our young people struggle with digital interactions. Negative peer pressure, cyberbullying, the desire to belong are creating intensified relationships online, and their digital interactions are often hindering their in-person social skills, and many contribute to feelings of dissatisfaction, depression, anxiety, suicide ideation, or involvement with the criminal justice system. We have to remember technology is a means and a venue. Looking through my NOVA lens, I can attest to our continuously evolving digital world is placing children and adolescents at risk and victimization to a variety of negative and potentially dangerous exposures that often are sexual in nature. Exposure to mature content can be on apps, messaging platforms, as well as games. According to the Journal of Adolescent Health, 20% of teenage internet users say they have been the target of unwanted sexual solicitation. And I'd like to review the typical stages of online predatory grooming. The first is friendship, taking a child, if possible, into a private chat room, often then asking for a non-sexual picture. Then they start to form the relationship, asking what problems they might be having, creating the illusion of becoming their best friend. Then comes the risk assessment, asking about location, who else might be knowing about their conversations, what kind of device are they using, where are they when they're using their device. And then exclusivity, building that sense of trust, suggesting that they can discuss anything. And finally comes the sex talk. That's when explicit conversations begin, sexting is requested, and then they try to arrange a meeting. And just for definitions, I'd like to review that sexting is the sharing and receiving of sexually explicit content via any electronic device. Sextortion is the threat to expose those images in order to coerce their victim for additional sexual content, sexual activity, or perhaps money. The blackmailer may be a stranger, someone the child knows, or an intimate partner attempting to harass, embarrass, control, or exploit. At Nova, we have seen firsthand, too many times, technology's role in facilitating sexual violence, its impact on victims, their families, and the community at large. Explicit photos, cyberbullying, online grooming, trafficking, CSEC, which is the commercial sexual exploitation of children, sexting and sextortion. And as technology is becoming more advanced, AI-generated child sexual abuse images are increasing at an alarming rate. According to Thorne's 2022 report on youth perspectives and online spaces, 1 in 3 minors reported engaging in some form of online sexual interaction. 1 in 5 were asked to send a nude image, and 1 in 4 received sexual images. And I would say that those numbers are growing as we sit here today. And it might be impacting children younger than you think. About 25% of children aged 9 through 17 said it was common for their peers to share nude images. And on a side note, last week when we were talking with one of our colleagues from the FBI, she mentioned that the location when a child takes a sexting picture of themselves is 95% either in their bathroom or in their bedroom. And I think this is an important statistic to think about for parents who, when their children go into the bathroom or the bedrooms, they have their phones, just so that they're aware of that. Breaking it down, the percentage of minors who have shared their own CSAM, which is child sexual abuse material, in that 9 to 12 preteen age range, 6% of girls, 7% of boys. And 20% of those children shared they had some type of sexual interaction online with someone they believed to be over the age of 18. Looking at teenagers specifically, we see an increase also in the normalization of sexting. 32% reported that it was common for peers to engage in nude sharing behaviors. For some, sexting is now a new form of intimacy, and it's being called the new second base. Possibly this is a nexus to the FBI's reporting of the huge increase in sextortion cases. The internet is ever-changing. Perhaps it will change even more significantly. I believe it will. Harmful content, cyberbullying, online predators, and the potential for exploitation. Children need help, support, and resources to navigate the internet securely, and we must prioritize educating our youth about the risks and the harms associated with online interactions. We want our youth to have healthy relationships with technology, and we strongly advocate for legislation that requires continuing online safety education programs. I want to thank you for your attention, and most importantly for your efforts to support our children and youth. And there's an old Ethiopian proverb that I strongly believe in. When spider webs unite, they can stop a lion. And I believe together we can do great things. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. I'm in California right now, and he is the founder of Skill and a board member of Safe Surfin Foundation.
Hello. Can everyone see and hear me?
Everybody hear?
Yes.
Well, thanks for having me here. I'm Graeme Page. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Skill, and I'll start off, with my story as to how I got to where I am. So when I was 11 years old, I started a social media marketing company that really focused on taking content and making it relatable to kids. So it turned out as a hobby, and it got to 4.5 million followers, and then I started working with large clients like Disney and Warner Brothers. So I really grew up on social media, seeing how it could be something really positive. Then when I was 17 years old, my girlfriend, Nicole, completely out of the blue committed suicide because she was a victim of sextortion on Instagram. And it opened my eyes to the fact that social media is not a safe place and it's not so great, and that there's such a negative underbelly to it. And it drove me to want to create skill to protect kids across the country and the world who are facing these sorts of crimes. So sextortion is something where, financial sextortion is the most common type of it now. Kids today are targeted through social media by these organized crime groups, often out of Nigeria. I found out very recently, in fact, that these organized crime groups use an algorithm to target kids systematically, and ICAC investigators find out that certain kids with the last name starting with P or G or so on, they are targeted on certain same days. So there's an algorithm and a software these organized crime groups are using to target kids at scale. What they do is they send a flirty message, pretending to either be a peer or someone their own age to these kids, someone even from their school, and they say, I think you're cute. They start sexting, flirting. They encourage the kid to send them a nude photo after sending one of their own, which is often fake. The kid does, and then they turn and say, I have your photo. Now I'm going to blackmail you for $1,800, and if you don't pay it, I am going to send it to everyone, in your school, and your family, and your friends. So in my girlfriend Nicole's case, her iCloud was hacked, and a photo was taken that she had put on her own phone, and used it the same way to blackmail her, and that pushed her to the edge. Many kids across the country have gone through the same thing, either sending it themselves or having it hacked, or even in one case recently, somewhere there was a child where the photo was actually AI generated and not even real, but the threat alone of having a photo that others would think was a nude photo was enough to send the child over the edge to suicide. This is an epidemic that's affecting our kids horribly, and so we need to do something about it, and that's why we created the company that is dedicated to fighting it. So we started with partnering with the Surfin Foundation out in Virginia, and they are founded by Sheriff Mike Brown out of Bedford County, Virginia. He started the ICAC task forces, or he received the first grant for the ICAC task forces back in 1996, and then he went on to create Safe Surfin in 1998. With their support, we were able to put together this program and actually pass legislation in West Virginia mandating social media safety education in all public schools in grades 3 through 12. And we worked closely with the state of West Virginia to develop a program that would address those concerns, which we called Deputy. Deputy started out with West Virginia, and it's become apparent that this is something that's needed at scale to reach every kid in the country. And what it does is it's an internet 911 where kids talk to it. It's a peer-to-peer interaction based on AI twins designed to feel like a support buddy, not someone authoritative or intimidating. In their own words, a child can explain a situation they're experiencing on social media, be it something like needing advice or something more serious. If it's a crisis, like they're being sextorted or blackmailed or harassed, they explained in their own words and were able to address the situation. We do that through integration with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's Cyber Tip Line and Take It Down APIs. The Cyber Tip Line is capable of receiving those reports and forwarding them to the ICAC task forces for investigation. And the Take It Down tool is an incredibly powerful piece of software that can essentially stop sextortion when it's happening. A child uploads the photo to the tool that they have either had taken from them or sent, and is being used against them. That photo is turned into a hash value that's then sent out to platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, and even porn sites. And all those participating platforms look for that hash value, and if they find it, they put a block on it so that photo can't be seen, shared, or spread, essentially rendering it useless for the blackmailer, because any attempt to share that photo would be blocked and flagged, and their accounts would be shut down. So this is the first real solution to sextortion, and within a 5 to 7 minute conversation a child has with their deputy, we're able to take it from a crisis that they feel is the end of the world to an actual resolution, going through steps from reporting, takedown, involving a parent, involving school administrator if necessary and so on. We recently had a experiment where we posted an Instagram ad to announce deputy. The intent was really to create a wait list and inform people that it was coming to West Virginia this fall. And the response was shocking. Not only did we get tons of waitlist signups, what we ended up getting that we didn't expect was 200,000 views on the Instagram ad overnight, and dozens of messages from kids who had seen the ad, messaging us at all hours of the night, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., in crisis, saying, I'm being blackmailed, I'm being sextorted, I'm being abused, someone has a photo of me, whether it's a predator, an ex, someone they know. I've been waiting for Snapchat to do something, no one's doing anything. Instagram said it didn't violate their policies. And there was one that said, the blackmailer is going to post my photo at midnight, and I'm feeling like I'm going to throw up, and the message was at like 11:59 p.m. So these were kids reaching out to us at the worst moment of their lives, begging for deputy, begging for the solution that we provided them, and it just shocked me that one ad was able to reach so many kids experiencing this that have otherwise had absolutely no idea of what to do. And there's probably thousands, if not millions more going through it. So it really made us believe that we need to take deputy not only to where we're launching it now, but to really take it nationwide as soon as we possibly can. And that's our top priority right now.
Thank you, Graeme. And I probably have heard this now 6 times you speak, and I don't think I could ever stop listening to you, the message that you're bringing. And I always learn more and more, but thank you, and thanks for joining us. I know it's very early where you are, so appreciate that very much. The State Senator, Vince Deeds, he's the co-sponsor of Senate Bill 466, and he also is a former West Virginia state trooper, so I'm so glad that he's able to join us. I'm a little sad that West Virginia is going to be first and it's not Pennsylvania, but I'm glad that it's because of your work that brings us today, and I'm hoping Pennsylvania will be moving forward as well. So, Senator, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sheriff, and thank each and every one of you all for allowing me this opportunity to share just a few moments with you about, in West Virginia, we call it Senate Bill 466, which dealt with safety while accessing technology. Just to give a little bit of history, we have been blessed I met Sheriff Mike Brown from Bedford County, Virginia, a number of years ago on the ICAC program, and developed a friendship with him, and then after I retired from the state police, had a wonderful career there with the state police. I retired from there. I work as the chief investigator for the Greenbrier County Prosecutor's Office, and which deals a lot with our students in our school system here as well. And so through that, I was having a discussion with Sheriff Brown, and about the difficulties our children were having in Greenbrier County with cyberbullying, sextortion, the issues that this bill addresses, and what you all hope to address as well, that are plaguing our children, because our children really didn't, they also didn't have a safe space. They felt like that they could go somewhere and tell a caring adult about the issues that they're having, and so I really, from our previous testimony, Miss Worthington and of course Graeme really have set the stage. It's a crisis situation for our children, and so we, after I ran for state senate here and was elected in 22, We came up, developed this legislation hand in hand with Sheriff Brown and Eddie Worth with the Safe Surfin Foundation. And we wanted to legislate this statewide. And in West Virginia, we're a little bit different. We're not a full-time legislature like Pennsylvania is. And so we have a small population. West Virginia only has 1.8 million people in the whole state. And so, but that allows us, since there's only 34 senators and 100 delegates, it allows us to really move fairly quickly on issues. And after we took some compelling testimony from our state police Internet Crimes Against Children unit, and also presented this bill. It moved very quickly through the Senate and the House and was signed into legislation by Governor, at that time, Governor Jim Justice. And we're thankful for that because it addresses an issue that ties into reaching out to our children who feel like that they have no place to go. And as mentioned from District Attorney Schorn earlier, we've also had young people that have committed suicide because they felt like that they were being extorted and they could not go tell a caring adult. They had no other place to go. And so they took their own life. And so with this legislation and with the bill that Graeme Page has developed through skill, we really hope that it will make a difference for some of our most vulnerable victims, and that's our children from West Virginia. And I am very thankful that you all are addressing this in Buck County. It's the best thing, I believe, one of the best things that we can do for our children. So thank you all for doing that. Thank you for your time.
Senator, and thank you for joining us today. And I know we have you and Graeme on Zoom, so we're going to try to go through the questions and just open it up to the panel. If people...
Actually, my question was more for Graeme.
How easy is it to get people back and forth?
Graeme can turn his camera on.
Oh.
Yeah, on here.
Graeme, thanks for doing this. I know you're on the West Coast and it's pretty early. I appreciate that. You and I kind of came of age in very different times with the internet and technology. I'm 37 years old, so my first kind of interaction with other people, I was in high school. I was 16 or so years old. I didn't have I had flip phone all through college and everything. So we, despite being close in age, we were very different eras with technology. But you had mentioned, and that was the first time I'm hearing about it, that these are overseas, almost criminal enterprises now that are targeting these individuals, much the same way that similar groups are targeting senior citizens and trying to scam them out of money and everything else. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on that? Because that's very troubling. I mean, we've heard instances locally, I'm sure you've prosecuted instances locally, or it's one individual that's going to find 15, 20 young girls or women, but now to find out that this is overseas traffickers, that is much more alarming because that is a whole different scale than what I was kind of prepared to hear about today.
It's largely organized crime groups in Nigeria that are targeting these kids and making sextortion such a big epidemic. It's the reason there's been a 1,000% increase in the last 18 months alone. There were actually, I think, 2 brothers in Nigeria who were just recently extradited to the U.S. for prosecution, but that's an extremely rare case. Most of the times there is very little way to get to them. And Instagram also recently deleted 63,000 accounts that were engaging in sextortion, and every single one of them came out of Nigeria. So there is something definitely going on with those organized crime groups in Nigeria where they've decided to make it a full-time, at-scale operation to target kids in America on social media through this, rinse and repeat scam of engaging them in flirting, getting them interested, sending them a nude, getting them to send a nude, and then blackmailing them for money. And And there have been articles in Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal going through some of these messages between the blackmailers and the children. And many times they will say things along the lines of, if you don't pay me, you deserve to die, you should kill yourself. So these are heartless, terrible criminals that are operating this scam. And it really is something that I would say is largely happening overseas, much more than is happening in our own backyard.
Well, thank you for that. That's all I have for right now.
Representative Marcell.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sheriff, for hosting today's hearing. I also want to thank all the testifiers for all the important work that they're doing for our community, our children, and thank you to the Township, obviously, for hosting today's hearing. I think that as a mother, it's so hard to hear about this, but that unfortunately there are so many instances in our own backyard. I don't know if Ryan will speak about a little bit more about a sextortion incident that eventually led Representative Tomlinson to do Lindsay's Law, but that particular person unfortunately took her life in Tyler Park, which is literally miles from here. And so it's in our community, and I actually had some mothers reach out to me in the last month because their daughters were victims of AI-generated porn. They're 13 years old. And not only were they missing school, they're afraid to wear shorts. They have the naked body image now. It's a scary world that we're in. So I just want to thank everyone for the important work here because, whether it's Representative Hogan's baby girl, or everyone's children, we really have to help because it's a scary world. And so I just want to thank all the panelists for their work in helping our children, our communities. I really have a question, I guess kind of for everyone, but specifically, I guess, for Ms. Worthington, the question for you would be if you could share a little bit about some of the programs that NOVA currently has to help teens or families, schools. I know that you guys do a lot of work in the community, and I think it would be really helpful for people to hear about that because I really appreciate all the work NOVA does. And so I just think it would be helpful to hear about that. And then I guess for Mr. Page, if you could talk about how maybe you're in that AI-generated porn incident that I mentioned, there was a person who made those just based off of faces that were online. Like it's not like, it wasn't sextortion. And so I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about how maybe your program can help with that. And then finally for Senator Deeds, if you could talk a little bit about maybe how your bill may be able to help based on the situation that I just mentioned. So thank you very much. Ms. Worthington.
Thank you. I think it's really important for us to consider prevention education as a continuum, that there's not one size fits all. And one of the most important things when we're talking about this critical issue is not only providing skills and tools for children, but helping the professionals that work with them as well as the parents. I talked to one of our victim advocates the other day and I said, is there anything you want me to say prior to me making my remarks? And she said, please remind the parents need to be part of this equation as well. And when we do prevention education and program, we have 3 different tiers. But the core of what we do is we talk about personal safety. And we do those programs right here in Council Rock School District. And I think one of the things that we really need to enhance in our children is their self-esteem, that they have the right to be safe, that their bodies belong to them, and that anyone who asks them to do anything that's questionable or makes them feel concerned or confused, to go find that trusted adult And in all of our programs, we talk about who are your 5 trusted adults. We have the children do that for us. And then when we talk about the digital safety programs that we have, we start actually in 3rd grade. A few years ago, we started in 4th grade. Now we're starting in 3rd grade. And we talk about being an upstander. What does that mean? That means if you get a message or a text or hear something or something is spread about someone that is scary, inappropriate, mean, don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. Go to that person and say, how can I help? Can we go to the school counselor? What can we do to help each other? And as children become more developmentally, I guess I should say, as their experiences change in their relationships online, we have programs in 6th grade. We start to talk about sexting. We talk about sextortion. We have our cyberbullying program that we start in 5th grade. We have internet safety programs that we talk about your digital footprint. So we try to have all of those programs be in a really important way. We also just held a policy for our parents in our community on sextortion. And we want our families and our lawmakers to know about what a really important issue that is. But there's a whole continuum of programs that we do. And we go right through to 12th grade.
Well, thank you again for providing that update and for all of the work, the great work that Nova does. We really appreciate it. Mr. Page, do you want to talk a little bit about your program and software and how maybe that could be connected to the incident I brought up, the AI-generated porn?
Yeah, well, AI-generated porn is treated the same way as real porn, as any nude that has been sent. We can use the same technology to report it and take it down that we would otherwise. If a child goes onto our platform and informs their deputy that there is an AI-generated deepfake nude photo or just any nude photo, they would be able to go through the process of creating a cybertip line report through the conversation and then perform the takedown. And they would upload that photo that would then turn into a hash value and go to the platforms, which would then remove the photo and prevent it from being seen, shared, or spread. One piece of legislation that would make this much easier is the Take It Down Act. It's a federal bill that's been introduced. It's passed the Senate and it's going to the House. And the Take It Down Act would make it so that every platform in the U.S. Would have to respond to takedown requests in 48 hours or less, regardless of if they're voluntarily participating in this program. Today, Meta and Snap are participating in this program voluntarily, but say TikTok and or other social media platforms do not necessarily have to. They also, no platform today is given a timeline as to when they have to perform those takedowns. Under the Take It Down Act, it would be 48 hours. And specifically, that act also goes into deepfake porn and making sure that it is treated the same way as genuine porn, because as we've seen with that case of the child who took his own life from a photo that was used against him, that wasn't even real. It can be just as devastating to have an AI-generated nude to a child as a real one that they've sent.
Thank you so much for that information. It was really helpful, and I learned a lot about a number of things, including the Take It Down Act, so I'm looking into that. Thank you very much, Mr. Page. And then finally, Senator Dees, I didn't know if you had anything to add in terms of SB 466 and even hearing from our Nova advocates about some of the programs that they're working on, and if you could add anything. I appreciate you being here today.
Sure, thank you, ma'am. I'm honored to be here, but 466 does help. It kind of sets a standard for the different entities that interrelate from the Board of Education to the local law enforcement community. And but then also, you do mention artificial intelligence. We also have been drafting legislation and working on a bill that particularly addresses artificial intelligence because of course, my day job here at the prosecutor's office, you know, the code was, our state code was silent as far as artificial intelligence generated pictures. And so we drafted some legislation, and fortunately it did make it. It's up for signing by the governor here in the next few days. So I think ultimately, I'd encourage all my brothers and sisters that are in the legislature there in Pennsylvania to consider, start out with similar legislation, Bill 466, to set the stage, but then also look at enhancing any kind of, you know, that child sexual abuse material, that legislation, in particular the artificial intelligence, because you know, unfortunately, we've all seen the videos and everything that depict people doing things that they're saying doing things that they're absolutely not engaged in, and it is being used in a very organized manner. I mean, there is an organized crime element that seeks to our most vulnerable victims, our children, and to use that against them. So any type of legislation that can be drafted and vetted out and hopefully signed by into law will be of benefit for the prosecutors and the law enforcement community. And it will ultimately, at the end of the day, it will make the world safer for our children. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Good morning, Senator. Sorry to take up some of your time. I just have a couple questions because Senate Bill 466 did come over. The sheriff did send it over, and this is something that we were looking at into before the sheriff brought it to our attention. I just had a couple questions when looking at the legislation. In West Virginia, you guys have county school boards, right? So I think you have like 55 county school districts. One thing that we've, you know, figured out here in Pennsylvania is we have 500. So it's a little tough. Do you, and I believe in your legislation, you require the board, the State Department of Education to, are the school districts required to implement the curriculum that the department creates? Or is it an optional basis, like a toolbox type of thing? How does your legislation work?
No, that's an excellent question, because the way the legislation was drafted and its intent is to filter all this information back down from the State Board of Education, because that gives us one central location, and it gives us uniformity throughout the whole state. That is one reason, that we have introduced the skill program through the State Board of Education, and that is an option for the different counties to adopt. Historically, in West Virginia, if it is a State Board of Education project, the County Board of Education follows suit, and that's why you will see, you know, in the bill some language about the State Board of Education and also the local County Board of Educations. You know, it mandates that the County Board of Education shall adopt those policies. You know, so that's it allows the State Board of Education to have buying power. You know, the ability, you know, to have more resources. And unfortunately, in West Virginia, you know, especially in our southern coal fields, our county board of educations are very financially challenged and financially insecure. So by us establishing it through the State Board of Education, it allows those funding sources to be available to make sure that we don't leave out the coal fields or those other counties in our area that are financially challenged. So, thank you, sir. Good question.
I appreciate that perspective, Senator. And for everybody here, we are working on, we started engaging stakeholders in the process, working collaboratively with our colleagues in the House to kind of come up with a comprehensive proposal that would basically be another tool in the toolbox for school districts. Everybody's doing their best, but as we've heard here from previous testifiers, technology's moving so fast, right? Today it's TikTok, tomorrow it's Roblox, what is it on Friday? Nobody knows. So I want to say thank you for that. We're looking at not just what was mentioned here today, but also the financial history part, right? Preventing kids from putting out their personal information on the internet to lose it. So we will continue to engage in that process, Sheriff. We appreciate highlighting and bringing attention to this. And if I could, just a quick plug for Representative Tomlinson, as Representative Marcell mentioned. Casey Tomlinson is from Bensalem Township, and there was a young woman, Lindsay LeCompte, who was a victim of sextortion, and Lindsay felt like it was too much. Everything you heard today, she felt like it was too much. She was a victim. She ended up taking her own life. She left her note to her parents because it was still one of the most terrible things I've ever heard. Hearing it from the LeCompte family. Casey heard that story. Casey worked with in a bipartisan fashion and was actually able to pass Act 75 in 2022, which is a criminal enhancement. And I think shortly after it passed, it was found out that the individual who was a sextortioner had done it to previous girls. So thankfully, we were able to get this bill passed, and Lindsay will be remembered in that she's protecting and help saving future victims from this happening. So, Sheriff, thank you. District Attorney, thank you. Testifiers, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
Legislation, we've sent some drafts. We're trying to find a model that works for Pennsylvania, given our differences with some other states. But, Ryan, you had just mentioned Roblox. And Roblox, for those that don't know, is basically a social media platform. It's a video game, and it's very popular with, primarily kids under 14 years old. Minecraft's been around for a long time, but it's the same thing. It's these social media video games that are attracting a lot of young people. And unfortunately, predators know about it, and predators are on those platforms. People I don't think know about it are a lot of parents. I'm not sure how often the parents think when their child's on an iPad playing Minecraft, realizing that they could be talking to a predator right now. And so, Ms. Worthington, I want to know how I can help in my office as state representative. I think Kristin would also be interested, and everybody else. You had mentioned some of these trainings and these platforms. Legislation can take a long time, and that's only one aspect of it. You're talking to the children at that point, but you had mentioned about cell phones in bathrooms and bedrooms, things like that. I mean, how do we raise awareness among parents, and how can we start doing this now? Because we could be protecting children now. And no parent wants to see their child go through this. So if there are basic steps, and we can find ways to bring the attention to the parents, educate them about what the current thing is. Like Ryan said, today it's TikTok, tomorrow who knows. But bringing them up to date on and going to talk to the parents where they are and when they are. 10 a.m. on a Monday is not the best day, but maybe we can do something at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday. So I'd be interested in talking to you about that. We don't have to chat now about it, but I think that's critically important that we continue this conversation to talk to the parents specifically as much as possible. So thank you all for your testimony.
District Attorney?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. First, Graeme, thank you for your talents, your intellect, but most importantly, your commitment to this amazingly noble cause. And you sharing your personal story and that vulnerability is such a powerful tool to get people to listen. So I honestly have to say, when I had the opportunity to hear your abbreviated presentation on our Zoom call after Sheriff Harran made the introductions, I was blown away and I was genuinely moved. I felt like finally, as a prosecutor, as chief law enforcement officer, we have a solution. So you just have my gratitude. And to Senator Deeds, you have provided us with a path forward here in PA. So I'm so grateful for all of our legislators here, and I know the work they do, which is amazing. And thanks to you and your team, we have a path forward. So I'm so grateful to you as well. obviously to our sheriff for bringing this to Bucks County and to our state, hopefully to the Commonwealth. And then, of course, my friend Mary Worthington and everyone at Nova, Ms. Ettinger's here, and Julia Dewberry is here from Nova. They're true heroes who walk the walk every day. So to allow us to have another tool that will be so effective to, you know, get this, not only the word out, but to allow for children to have a mechanism to report. Because I know as a prosecutor, a child abuse prosecutor, built into these crimes is the grooming tactic that silences the victims. And it is so effective. We know it. We know how underreported crimes like these are. And in the sextortion cases, it's often far too late. And then to bring it full circle, Mr. Skoczylas and Representative Hogan spoke about Lindsay Pacone and Representative Marcell. I watched her family give that impact statement in court. And one of the things that was remarkable is that, first of all, Lindsay was so loved by her parents and so supported by her parents. She was their only child. She was a young adult who didn't see a way out and took her own life. And despite leaving a letter, her parents never knew why she took her own life. It was a mystery to everyone who knew her because she was so well loved and well adjusted. It was an adolescent-aged child who 2 years later disclosed to her father that she was being victimized online by a sextortioner. And that father happened to have gone through the court process as a witness in a child rape and murder in Bucks County. And so he knew what Nova did, he knew what the prosecutors and law enforcement did, and so he had talked to his daughters routinely about safeties online. And that child came forward, and in doing so, it enabled the police to search the perpetrator's phone for what they thought was that one victim, to expose countless victims, including Lindsay, and finally providing the answers to Lindsay's family. So it's clear we have to do more. It's devastating. I could not agree more with what all of the experts said. It is an epidemic, and we are at a crisis. And so, thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you to Sheriff Harran, District Attorney Schorn, and everyone else who put this important panel together. It's an incredibly important topic, and I can't think of a topic more embraced by anyone than the safety of our children, and I'm glad to be here today. We don't have a lot of questions, but just have a few comments, and then I'm going to have one question for you, if I can. Our role as supervisors is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our residents, all of our residents. It's our obligation. It's not discretionary. It's part of what we sign up to do. And I'm here to learn how to help at a local level get some things done. We do have some data just about our own town here in Northampton Township. This is from the census data. We have approximately 40 to 43,000 residents here. Not really sure what that exact number is. But under 18 is 9,000. We have 9,000 children that live in Northampton Township, which is just under 25%. It's a pretty big number. Then I went and looked at another number, and I'm glad I heard some of the statistics earlier. The 5 to 14-year-old range, and I know 5 is a little young, but it's probably starting to approach the age where they're vulnerable, is 5,000. Over half of the under 18s are in that 5 to 14 range, and the rest are in the 15 to 17 range. There are kids right here in our own community that are vulnerable to these kinds of attacks. I said I was here to learn, but I'm also here to show what kind of support our board can give at a local level to our law enforcement, Chief LeCompte sitting next to me, and our schools, and provide them the tools to effectively help our children. I know there's a lot to do at the state, and there's probably a lot to do at the federal. You guys are boots on the ground. I think that's what was mentioned earlier, and I get that. I think my question is, what kind of programs do you have, or that you can share with maybe a little bit more than schools? And if I'm not sure that they may already exist, but I started to think about our local area and all the places of vulnerability, the library, the civic center, all the places where people go. How about they go into a restaurant that has free Wi-Fi? You know, all these places. Do you have those kind of programs available? Because I think we would be really interested in learning that. And then before you ask, I would just say, and of course our role as supervisors is to support our legislature in passing good, strong laws to help our law enforcement. But this is my question.
Thank you, and I love your question. We will go anywhere in Bucks County to provide programs, and we have wonderful programs for caring adults, and we can do it either virtually or in person. I like in person better. I feel that the dialogue and the communication is much more detailed and personal, but we have programs, and we know that parents have horrendous schedules. We know community members have horrendous schedules, and we try to make it fit in the best way possible so that we can serve them and help them and have conversations like this. Because I always say, if you leave something with one takeaway, that it can be life-changing, so.
Well, I want to say I really admire the work that you and your whole organization do. I hear that all the time. I met somebody on the way in, the first thing I thought is, wow, here they are. These are the people that we hear helping our residents every day. Just one last comment. I know I heard the term crisis multiple times today. Crisis, crisis, crisis. It is our duty to act in a crisis. And Graeme, I just want to give you kudos. I love the term fight technology with technology. And I think what you've developed is phenomenal. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Chief LeCompte. Good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to thank the Sheriff Harran, for bringing this panel together today, and the witnesses. It is very much needed. I agree that legislation is needed as well. As the Chief of Northampton Township Police Department, I can tell you that we are also impacted by this type of crime. There's nothing more important than protecting our children. We fully investigate all these incidents, and oftentimes we find juveniles are involved. Oftentimes parents are not aware. Representative Hogan sort of brought up a point that I was going to make. We have to have education for parents as well as educators and the students, because oftentimes when we investigate these incidents, and it's often sharing of nude photos between juveniles. Sometimes it's an ex-boyfriend that's upset because the relationship broke up. Sometimes it's not unusual for our youth, and I've seen an increase over the last few years, to share naked photos, and it is alarming. And unfortunately, a lot of parents are not aware of it. When we investigate, the parents are shocked that this is going on, but the kids in the middle schools and high schools, they know what's going on, and oftentimes we find out from a friend that's concerned about the person that's sharing the photos. I was going to ask Mr. Page if there would be any technology that could support parents by having parents notified if their child was sharing nude photos online. If there was a possibility that technology could notify a parent that these images were being shared, and then the parents, of course, could take action or notify law enforcement. Is that technology available?
Yes, we have two things in skill that involve the parents. Well, one of them is directly through us. We have a program called Sixth Sense, and through the interactions the child has with their deputy, we have an AI that's essentially able to determine 42 different dimensions of emotion. So it can essentially determine emotion from a child's voice, face, and text. That emotion analysis is available as an optional opt-in for the parents if they want to have information about their child's emotional well-being through their conversations with their deputy, and most importantly, be notified if the child is in distress. Now, to answer your question more directly, Skill is partners with BARC. BARC does produce products that support parents through monitoring and online safety awareness. They have produced a BARC phone and a BARC watch that are essentially kid-safe tech. The BARC phone is something that parents can give their child, and essentially everything that's done on the BARC phone is, within the parent's control, and they're notified if the child does anything that, would be potentially dangerous. That phone doesn't allow sexting to take place, and it also loops the parents in to pretty much every interaction that occurs. So there is kid-safe technology provided by BARC if parents do want to have more control over their child's online well-being. But what we do believe at Skill is that education is the most important element, and if we empower the kids with the knowledge they need to be in control of their own safety, they will, because they want to. But the only way to do that is to provide them with knowledge to then go out and know in advance of it happening, this is a scam, this is something that is going to happen if I do this. So it's about awareness, and so that's what we really focus on and believe at Skill, is that making the kids aware before it happens is the most powerful tactic to preventing it.
Thank you. Ms. Worthington, I just want to thank you for bringing attention to this problem and highlighting how prevalent it is. With some of the statistics, I've actually researched this a little bit before the meeting. 32% of children sharing or being asked to share intimate images online is shocking. I can tell you in Northampton, the number of incidents have increased. That's just based on our number of investigations. However, I believe it's very unreported because it's embarrassing to the family. The family knows about it, and especially the child. The child doesn't want this information out. So if the numbers are that high, the numbers that we're aware of, I'm sure the problem is much bigger than it is. So I thank everyone for bringing attention to this. It is a problem in Northampton, as I'm sure it's a problem all over the country. I want to thank all of our witnesses for all that they do to prevent this problem and address it and protect our children. The legislation is absolutely needed because it's not getting any better, it's getting worse.
Thank you, Chief. Just a couple of questions. Because I've been in government now, in law enforcement for 39 years, and sometimes bills, they seem like no-brainers to me, and it should be passed by noon today. We should get this through, send it in the House, and get it on Governor Shapiro's desk, who I'm sure would sign it, knowing the governor and his background. What were the stumbling blocks, if any, did you have in? Where were the naysayers? Where was the pushbacks on this bill?
Oh, that's an excellent question. We, one of our best individuals that gave powerful testimony for us was Jillian Brown. She's a sergeant with the state police, and she's on the ICAC unit. And after she gave her testimony about how many tips in West Virginia, pretty much a rural state, how many tips that they were investigating each and every day, happening throughout the year, and how many of these sexual sextortion and sexual predators were out there looking to trap our children. It really went through our committee process really quickly, some people were concerned about privacy issues, but again, this is something that a child will be able to report and share with hopefully a caring adult, and then also it's an education process. It's not, we're not getting down into any kind of First Amendment rights as far as the code section goes. And so we avoided that because, this is educating our children and the adults. The education sections, the local board of education, about how serious this is, and the law enforcement community. So where it's an education piece, and it also gives a pathway for the children to find relief. We didn't have a whole lot of resistance, and now we are a supermajority chambers too, so that helped quite a bit. But even with our more ultra-conservatives and more libertarian type legislatures, they understood that this was an education piece, and we have to offer this to our children to prevent those type of circumstances where we give our children no other option except the most drastic measures. And so it went through fairly quickly. We started it out as a Senate bill, and the House, we passed it out quickly. The House picked it right up and ran it back out, and so we were really blessed. I believe, I believe that this is the good Lord's work. I believe if you're a representative of the legislature, and you are doing the good Lord's work by giving the tools to the law enforcement and the education community to do their work. And so I really encourage, and I'm really thankful for all the representatives that are there today. I mean, you can tell that they're really engaged, and they want to get this through. But I think as long as it's emphasized that it's an education piece, it'll go back quickly.
Thank you. I know we're ahead of schedule, which is great. Everybody has a lot to do, but as we close out just this meeting, that's it. Legislators, I know this group, and I know in Bucks County, both sides of the aisle work good together. And I think this is going to get some movement. Unfortunately, we won't be the first state. West Virginia, I think, is 2. But I hope this moves. But we don't have to wait for legislation. You've heard the legislators talk today. There's no way it gets to Governor Shapiro's desk by after lunch today. It's just not going to happen. But I think we're going to move forward with piloting this probably in the fall of 25. There's some technical issues we're working through. But we're going to try to get this out on a voluntary basis before the calendar year is up in 2025. Representative Hogan, I got you beat. My first phone was a bag phone, and it was monstrous. The good thing about a bag phone, you couldn't really lose it. I remember when MySpace was here, and everybody thought, "Oh my God, who would have thought we got to where we are today?" And the dangers. And I was the chief of Ed Salem during the Lindsay Pacone when Lindsay killed herself. I knew the Pacone family very well. I actually went to Tyler Park the day that her body was discovered coming back from Doylestown because I knew the family very well, and we need to stop these tragedies. But we don't have to wait for legislation. I know the legislators here are good people, and they're going to work with both sides and get this done. And I know, knowing Governor Shapiro, I can't imagine him, this is going to be right up his alley, so to speak. But we're gonna get this rolled out because this is going to save lives. I've been doing this for 39 years, whether it's drugs, whatever it might be. We talk about a 3-pronged approach, and it's always been education and prevention. It's always been two large prongs, but law enforcement, for me, for the drug world, you have to stop the drugs. Was always been, because that's what I've been doing, has always been the biggest part of that wheel. Not this time. Not in this case. Although law enforcement is important, I believe it's not the most important part. Why? Because you heard testimony, 1,000% increase, and it's coming from outside this country. This is a great district attorney here, but nobody here has reaches across the ocean. So we just can't wait for federal partners or Interpol or anybody else. We have to stop it today. And in this particular case, with this problem, sextortion, law enforcement and laws are great, but it's really going to be prevention and education. It's really going to be organizations like NOVA and the school districts. If we can get these kids to understand, and even if they don't and they make mistakes, because kids do, because they're kids, I get it. And you just think it's not going to happen to you. But now with Graeme, who I think is a genius, when I met him in Washington, I actually changed my train to leave later just to listen to him and to talk to him afterwards. I left D.C. later that day because I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I think he is a genius. But we have now a tool for the kids that don't take that education to heart, because we've been doing that. And NOVA is an incredible agency here in Bucks County. I'm so glad that they're our partners, but there's kids that just make dumb mistakes. But now you've got Graeme and his crew, that we've got technology that can lock this down. It didn't start today, because the extortion legislation is great changes. And you led the way, right? You were the number 2 as in the DA's office, I think.
Yeah, my predecessor Matt,
Right.
I was number 2.
But it was, the Lindsay law. But today we're moving forward, and we're going to move quickly. We're going to get this out this week. We're going to start talking about ways of rolling this out to parents, getting them educated. Unfortunately, we can't get the app downloaded until probably the fall for technical reasons. And I can barely use this, so I don't know all the technical reasons, but I know it can't be done yet for us. But we are close. Before the calendar year 25 is over, we're going to have this available in Bucks County for sure. And with that, I would just like to close, and I appreciate everybody coming out, and I appreciate all the legislators. I know how busy everybody is, Chief, Mr. Chairman, and of course our district attorney. And with that, we're adjourned.
Thank you. Is there an opportunity for any of us to raise issues or questions?
I think we can meet. I think we're going to be here for a little bit, and we could certainly meet with you for questions. I think would be the proper format.
There's not a reason